Good morning, or hello at any one point. I thought, in addition to the absolutely exalted position that I have offered on different podcasts about this, including our own in People and Tech, I should probably offer more nuanced or calmer perspective as well, as someone who has spent every waking hour thinking about technology teams and individuals in teams, and how to measure and help them for the last good 5 years. So I don't know how many of you are aware, but I run a company called People Not Tech. What we do is we measure and improve how technology teams work. I hear you go, what? Haven't you been on and on about how you can't measure technology teams? No, I have been on and on about how you can't measure individual performance. And I know that because we have sliced and diced every human possible way of doing it. And I know it doesn't work. I know it isn't even half as efficient as the alternative, which is to tie one's existence to the magic of the feeling of psychological safety, to the magic of working in high-performing teams, to the absolute unquantifiable magic of existing in a tight-knit emotional place with other people who you think highly of, who you respect, who you trust, and who you create with. And yes, that isn't quantifiable. That part, the magic, isn't quantifiable. But what is quantifiable is a lever of that magic. And the reason I am so incredibly up in arms is because, much as I would like it not to be true, the lever of that magic is never lines of code, and it's never amount of keystrokes on a computer, and it's never developer velocity or some dry evaluation of skills and capacity. It's never those things. The driver is how much goodwill, how much teaming, how much emotional closeness exists between these people, and how willing are they to work harder at their interaction, their human interaction that enables their technology performance. Here's the newsflash that I'd like to explain to McKinsey and anyone else who's not aware. I know you look down on us and you think all of these people have jumped up in the technology era, but what does it matter? Because who we sell to are all these execs that believe us and not them. They look like exalted little puppies. In particular, this woman that jumps up and down, she's not even a developer, but she has the guts to talk for them. I'd like to say something. We haven't invented this, and this is not avoidable, and technology will be powered by how humane you're capable of bringing yourself to be and your organization to redesign. Technology will not exist in organizations with very high human debt. Reduce it now by understanding that what powers your developers is, and your every other employee, but in particular your technology people, is their ability to learn, their ability to create, their ability to do what you call the outer loop, but to do it not because they had to, because you've created blockers for them, but to do it because they are interested in it, because they want to get good code out, to do it because they care about the quality of what they're making, because they care about the purpose and impact of what they're doing. This is not brain surgery. I get up in arms every time I talk about it, but the 5 principles from the Aristotle Project is all you need to do. Not measure individuals so that you destroy their ability to function as a unit in a team. Not measure fake indicators of whether or not people are doing the work you've asked them to do, because the work you've asked them to do has to do with their creativity, has to do with their thinking, has to do with their capability to interact with other humans, and that you are not measuring. we are measuring it. We've spent years and years and practically millions of dollars understanding how to measure it. And all we have at this point is measure if you keep your people happy. Measure if you keep these 5 principles in mind. Measure if your teams are tight-knit, if they feel well enough to give you their all, if they have enough psychological safety between them. Measure if they're learning. Measure if they're happy in terms of courageous enough. Measure if they're happy in terms of flexible enough. Measure if they're resilient. Measure if they're happy with where they're working from, with what you're asking in the outcomes. Don't be measuring keystrokes. So this is my measurements versus productivity and performance message to the industry. Obviously, you can't measure individuals. You have to measure teams. For reasons I don't even think I need to go through. And obviously we cannot continue to have these low standards of our execs. We have to demand better. And my personal crusade is with how we found the most already mistreated category of knowledge workers, our developers, to beat on them some more. So this started a few weeks ago or a few months ago or a few years ago even, when code quality became a conversation. I don't know if it became the right conversation. As usual, I would rather that we always return to principles, and on this one it seems we have become very entrenched in process, which is obviously never a really good thing. So what I would urge us to do is go back to principles. What does clean, good code mean? Why would we want to make it? And who all is going to make it? And how in the hell do we measure that? Because it certainly isn't by the means that this report has suggested, but rather by the means of making our developers always tell us precisely how they feel about what they experience as their human experience, as their whole human experience in a team of developers that is creating together and making that outer loop the inner loop, and not calculating loops, but making worthwhile technology that is tech-led. I just wanted to clarify, I'm not against measurement. I am not against thinking of business outcomes. I'm not talking about this fluffy moral only side of things. I am simply saying that if you do genuinely want better outcomes for your team, what you're looking for can only be enabled by happy teams of knowledge workers, including developers, and not by measuring silly things. I hope we can take something out of this moment, because it is a pivotal moment, I think, for everyone to start thinking about who we are at work, what we allow to happen to us, and what we demand out of the workplace, so that we give them our best as well. Stay strong out there, and don't let anyone give you data that is absolutely bollocks just because they have a bigger name. And don't let anyone stop you from fighting human debt, because that's the right thing to do.